Devastating. There's really no other word to capture what just happened. That loss wasn't just a regular season bump. It was a crushing blow to a team that could not afford a misstep. With the final score reading 114 to 111, decided by a buzzer-beating shot, it was the kind of game that defines a season, or ends it. And what makes it even more painful is that it wasn't just a loss. It was a wasted opportunity in a race where every inch matters. Now the team faces just 2 remaining games in the regular season, and the Western Conference standings are tighter than ever. Every win counts. Every possession counts. And what they left on the court in San Antonio could very well haunt them when all is said and done. They were supposed to walk out of that building with a win, strengthen their playoff hopes, and avoid the chaos of the play-in tournament. Instead, they stumbled. They slipped right back into the mix with teams battling for survival. As of now, they're clinging to the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Not exactly the comfort zone they hoped for at this stage. The aftermath of April 9th shook the standings, and now the picture is clear. They're no longer facing heavyweights like the Lakers, Nuggets, or Clippers in a direct series. Instead, their path has shifted. If the season ended today, they'd be up against the Timberwolves in a play-in elimination game. And if they lose that, they'd still have one last chance against either the Kings or Mavericks. But let's be honest. Do you really want to put your fate in a do-or-die situation twice? Yes, there's confidence. There's always confidence. But confidence doesn't mean much in single-game elimination. This is the NBA, where everything comes down to making or missing shots. If you're cold on that night, that's it. You're out. There are no second chances once the clock hits 0. This is not where the team wanted to be, especially after the effort they put in earlier this season. And let's not forget, extra games, especially high-stakes ones, just wear you down, physically and mentally. Looking back at the loss to San Antonio, the cracks are obvious. Turnovers at key moments, lazy rotations, late closeouts. You cannot afford to play that kind of defense against a Spurs team that's ready to shoot the moment they get a sliver of daylight. And that's exactly what happened. The performance was all over the place. The team came out strong, grabbing a 9-point lead by the end of the first quarter. It looked promising. The rhythm was there. The energy was right. But by halftime, everything had flipped. They were trailing by 4. Then came a furious push in the third and early fourth, where they stormed ahead and built up a 12-point lead. And just when it seemed like they had it under control, boom, it all unraveled. They let it slip. Again, a buzzer beater finished it off, but the collapse started much earlier. That shot was just a dagger. You can feel the frustration in the locker room. One of the team's leaders in the post-game presser didn't sugarcoat it. He acknowledged the stakes. He knew exactly what this game meant. Falling back into the play-in picture is a massive setback. They had control. They were in position to avoid all this chaos. And now they need help. They need other teams to lose. That's the worst place to be in professional sports, relying on someone else to make your path easier. At this point in the season, every team has shown who they are. The contenders are stepping up. 3 teams have already punched their ticket to the playoffs. Others are fighting with everything they've got. One team even changed coaches recently just to get a spark, and it worked. They came out and got a much-needed win. Another team, close behind, did the same and now leapfrogged into a better position thanks to this latest loss. The standings are shifting daily, and it doesn't help that teams like the Timberwolves are still pushing forward, lining up crucial matchups that could tip the scales even more. The Timberwolves are now set to face the Grizzlies in a game that could define the bottom half of the Western bracket. If Minnesota wins, they could jump right back into the 6th spot and avoid the play-in altogether. Meanwhile, the team that just lost in San Antonio no longer controls its own destiny. That's the hardest pill to swallow. If they had won all their remaining games, the path would have been clear. But that's out the window now. Now, they need help, and that's a dangerous game. And let's not ignore the history here. This team has struggled against one of the potential play-in rivals. They've had issues matching up, finding offensive rhythm, and defending against a team that plays with tempo and fearlessness. And then there's the next opponent, a rising team in the Blazers who have been steadily improving and showing flashes of real potential. What makes this entire situation even more complex is that their best players did show up. They really did. Steph dropped 30, doing everything he could to keep Golden State in the fight. Jimmy had one of his most efficient nights of the season, finishing with 28 points on just 8 shots, including 2 for 2 from beyond the arc and constant trips to the free throw line. The stars did their part, but the supporting cast? Not even close. It's hard to win when the rest of the squad can't hit shots. No one from the bench stepped up in any meaningful way. The three-point shooting was abysmal. It felt like every possession ended in a contested jumper or a broken play. And you could see the body language shift as the fourth quarter wore on. Miss after miss. Turnover after turnover. This is where championship habits matter. You can't afford sloppy play when your season hangs in the balance. You can't have lapses in communication or late switches. The Spurs, to their credit, played with intensity and capitalized on every mistake. Their starters all chipped in close to 20 points, and role players like Castle and Harrison Barnes were lights out. They outshot Golden State from deep, and that was the difference. So now, here we are. The Warriors need help. They need other teams to drop games. They need to win out, and they need to rediscover their edge fast. Because if they end up in the play-in and have to go through Minnesota or Dallas just to make it into the official playoff bracket, there's no room for error. This team has the talent. That's not the issue. But talent without execution, that's just potential wasted. The clock's ticking. It's wild to think how quickly the season can shift from promising to panic. Just a couple of games ago, this team looked like they had finally turned the corner. The chemistry was coming together. The rotations made sense. The bench was starting to show signs of life. But now everything is teetering, and the margin for error is non-existent. You can feel the weight of these next 2 games like a pressure cooker. Everything is boiling. They'll face Portland next, a team that, while not elite, has made noticeable strides recently. They're scrappy. They hustle. They play without fear. And that's exactly the kind of opponent that can give shaky team nightmares. You take them lightly, and suddenly you're down by double digits wondering what happened. Golden State can't afford to overlook anyone right now. Every quarter matters. Every defensive possession has to be executed. Every mistake could cost them the postseason. And while we've seen flashes of brilliance, it's the inconsistencies that continue to plague this roster. Steph has carried more than his share of the load, and we saw it again. 30 points, his usual deep range magic, the gravity he creates every time he crosses half court. But he can't do it alone. Not at this stage. Not in this Western Conference. Jimmy Butler also rose to the occasion, getting to the line over and over, converting with efficiency, and staying locked in on both ends of the floor. His 28 points on just 8 shots say everything about how focused he was. He was clinical, but beyond them, not much else to celebrate. The supporting cast, the role players who were supposed to give breathing room to the stars, came up short. The shooting was inefficient. The ball movement got stagnant. Decision-making under pressure was poor. You could see hesitation on the perimeter, guys passing up open looks or forcing contested shots with the shot clock winding down. It was hard to watch, and the Spurs made them pay. Every missed rotation, every turnover, every late closeout, they turned it into points. That's the difference between teams that are building for the future and those that are supposed to be contending right now. Even more frustrating is that some of the younger players who had been trending up didn't show up when it mattered. One of them, who had been shooting nearly 50% from 3 over the last 10 games, went cold, just 1 of 5 from deep and 3 of 11 overall. It's the kind of regression that can't happen now, especially if he's supposed to be the second scoring option. We've seen what he's capable of. He's had explosive nights, but if you're going to be leaned on in the postseason, you've got to bring it consistently. Cold streaks in April are the kind that send teams home early. Kuminga had his moments, but the impact wasn't there. In fact, when the main guy was off the floor, the team had a -16 differential. That's not just bad. That's a flashing red warning sign. You can't afford to collapse every time your leader sits. It puts way too much strain on the rotations, and it signals that there's still no reliable plan B. The depth was supposed to be a strength. Lately, it's looked more like a liability. One of the veterans almost had a triple-double, and that's great on paper, but it didn't move the needle. Another guy went 4 for 10 from 3, which is solid, but not enough to offset everything else that went wrong. One more player, who's been struggling mightily from deep, continued that trend, going just 3 for 11, including 1 for 7 from downtown. Yes, he rebounded well. Yes, his defense was active. But if you're playing big minutes, you have to contribute offensively too, especially when the offense is built around floor spacing and perimeter shooting. This team is built to fire from deep. If the threes don't fall, the system starts to crumble. That's what we saw. They shot just 38% from beyond the arc, which might sound okay, but in today's NBA, that's not enough when you're giving up open looks on the other end. You can't have cold shooting nights and play loose defense. You have to pick one or the other, preferably neither. And while the offense sputtered, the defense didn't hold either. The Spurs were aggressive, confident, and played like they had nothing to lose. Multiple starters put up around 20 points. Harrison Barnes hit the dagger. Even players like Castle and Keldon Johnson came up big. You could see the hunger in their eyes. Meanwhile, Golden State looked tired. Not just physically, but mentally drained. The body language said it all in those final minutes. Slumped shoulders, late contests, second-guessing passes. It felt like the team knew what was slipping away, but couldn't stop it. Now the situation is what it is. They've lost control. They need other teams to lose. They need to win both of their remaining games. And they have to do it without room for a single misstep. If they pull it off, they might dodge the play-in chaos and land directly into a traditional series. If not, they'll be fighting for their season in back-to-back elimination games, where anything can happen, and usually does. The Grizzlies are set to face Minnesota soon, and that game could swing the standings again. After that, they go up against the Nuggets, and the final night brings the Mavericks. Meanwhile, Golden State needs the Grizzlies to drop those games. They also need Minnesota to lose at least once. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that they need Denver, one of the best teams in the league, to falter at the same time. It's not likely, and that's the problem. Depending on the results, the last game of the season might be meaningless or it might be everything. It could decide whether they're in or out, whether they face the Lakers or watch the playoffs from home. The stakes couldn't be higher. But here's the thing, they still have a shot. That's the hope fans have to hold on to. It's not over. Not yet. The road ahead is brutal. But if they can dig deep, win these final 2 games, and get just a little help, we might still see this team in a high-octane, classic Western Conference showdown. And let's be real. Who wouldn't want to see Steph Curry go head-to-head with LeBron James one more time in a win-or-go-home scenario? Everything now comes down to execution, effort, and urgency. There's no room left for error. The window is narrow, but it's still open. And if this team really wants it, if they still believe they're built for big moments, then now is the time to prove it. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. That's the question setting NBA circles ablaze as rumors swirl around Domantas Sabonis possibly joining the Golden State Warriors. Yes, that's Sabonis, triple-double machine, rebounding beast, and the heart of the Sacramento Kings resurgence. With numbers that echo the dominance of legends like Wilt and Bird, the idea of Sabonis in a Warriors jersey has fans and analysts buzzing with possibilities. If this blockbuster deal were to go down, it could redefine Golden State's identity. Imagine pairing the passing finesse and paint presence of Sabonis with the floor spacing of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. After years of small ball dominance, bringing in a versatile big like Sabonis could mark a strategic shift, one that might just extend the Warriors' championship window. His ability to operate as a high-post playmaker would be a seamless fit in Steve Kerr's motion-heavy offense. But let's not forget the emotional stakes. The Kings gave Sabonis the keys to the franchise. He brought playoff relevance back to Sacramento. Trading him, even hypothetically, feels like basketball blasphemy. Yet in a league driven by cap dynamics and bold front office moves, nothing's off the table. Especially not when a generational talent like Sabonis can elevate a title contender back to glory. And here's where things get really juicy. League insiders have hinted at behind-the-scenes discussions, cryptic social media activity, and front office smoke that's far too coordinated to ignore. Could there be fire behind this chatter? Could the Warriors pull off the unthinkable? One thing's for sure. If this rumor becomes reality, it won't just shake up the West. It'll shake the entire league. Stay locked in, because the story of Sabonis to Golden State might just be the next seismic shift in the NBA landscape. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.